welcome back to our channel, the Northern Sewl Sisters. You've got myself, Ruan, first today, I'm afraid, guys. But we're here today to talk to you about our project on double gauze. Now, if you guys are following us over on our Instagram page, if you're not, we will pop a link to it in the description box below. You will see that when we met up in York and we had a lovely day shopping in York, we were gifted some fabric from First of Fabrics, and we were challenged to make something each in this fabric, and the fabric is double gauze. Now, I know a lot of people tend to be a little bit nervous about using double gauze. I will show you my colourway first and then I'll talk through it. So this is my colourway. I love it. We were very lucky actually because there's 3 colourways of this fabric at First of Fabrics, and each one was very individual to our personal colour choices, so it worked out really well. But this is my one. Now this is just a scrap of the fabric because I have actually made my garment. I will be showing you that in a moment. But this is my fabric. So you will see that this double gauze has a lovely crinkled texture to it. And mine is in the colours of yellows, whites, pinks and oranges. And to me it feels like a mixture of autumn and summer. I think you could kind of wear that in both seasons really, but it's absolutely beautiful. I will tell you how it's described on the First of Fabrics website, just so I don't get it wrong. It's 100% cotton double gauze. It says this 100% cotton double gauze is lightweight and breathable, subtly textured and extremely soft to touch. I can vouch for that. One layer of lightweight gauze features a yarn dyed checked design, which is this one. And this is bonded to plain gauze. So on the other side, it's plain, look, with tiny invisible tack stitches. This non-stretch woven fabric is an ideal choice for blouses, tops, summer dresses, children's clothes, pyjamas, accessories and so much more. It's 131 centimetres wide and it's around 130 grams per square metre. So it's a lovely light kind of fabric and beautifully soft. At the moment it's £13.95, but if you stay to the end there might be a little cheeky discount code for if you fancy purchasing some. So yeah, double gauze, if you do not know, is made up of 2 different layers. That's why it's double. And you can sometimes kind of pull it apart. I'll do that just so you can see it. Look there. So that's one side of it and that's the other. And then every now and again, there's like a little invisible tack, excuse my horrendous nails, that keeps the 2 layers together. So then you have a really lovely, soft, almost spongy feel to it. And it's absolutely beautiful. I love the texture of it. So a lot of people, like I say, are scared of using double gauze. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't do it. It's a massive favourite of mine. If you follow my individual channel, you will know that I'm a massive fan of double gauze pyjamas. They're absolutely amazing. And I think one of the benefits of this fabric is you can use it in every season. So it's almost a strange fabric really. In the summer, because it's 100% cotton, it keeps you lovely and cool. But in the winter, it's really snuggly. And because it's double layered, it's beautiful. I've made quite a few things now out of double gauze and I will not be stopping. I just love it so much. I've made blouses, pyjamas, you name it, I've made it. I just absolutely love this colourway of all the oranges and pinks and yellows. I don't tend to wear orange very often, but actually I think it does quite suit me. So people often kind of say, how do I work with double gauze? And I think people have got like maybe a bit of an idea about it before, you know, sometimes we form an opinion and it's not necessarily how it is. I find working with double gauze actually very easy as long as you're very delicate with it. So a lot of people ask about washing it. You can wash it, no problem. I would always recommend 30-degree wash. I wouldn't tumble dry it. It does tend to shrink. Ask me how I know. My pyjamas have ended up in the tumble dry once from my husband. But a lot of other people also wonder whether they should iron it or not. It's totally your decision on that one. If you're going to iron your final garment, I would suggest ironing it before you've made up your garment. If you're not and you're quite happy with a very crinkled texture, then you can just leave it. Mine is ironed, but it's only very lightly ironed. I don't put a lot of pressure on and I put a lot of steam on just to take out the real thick crinkles in it so that it's just lovely and textured like that. You can use a normal needle. I've never had a problem. Some people do recommend to use microtex needles, but I would just say with double gauze, just work gently with it. Staystitch around necklines, anywhere where you don't want it to grow, because sometimes it does have a little tendency to grow. But yeah, just handle it with care and it will love you back in return. Right, I'm going to go now and pop my top on and show you what I've made. Ta-da! So I'm wearing my fabric and I absolutely love it. So I made a pattern that I've made a couple of times before actually. And isn't that always a luxury when you know that you like a pattern and you make it again? I made the Florence top by Merchant and Mills. So I'll tell you a little bit about this pattern. I'm not going to go into too much detail. I have done a full review actually over on my own channel. So if you do want to check that out, you can do. But yeah, I fancied making something that I could wear that was kind of transitional. So I could wear this in the summer on its own, or I could wear it maybe with like a cardigan popped over the top or something for autumn, winter. So that's what I decided to do with mine to get the most out of it basically. So yes, I made the Florence top. Just for information then, this is by Merchant and Mills. It comes in 2 size ranges. It comes in a 6 to 18 and also an 18 to 28. It comes in PDF and it comes in paper format as well, if that's what you prefer. So from a size range, it goes from a bust of 13¾ to 55 inches, a waist of 24 to 48.5 inches, and a hips of 34 to 57.5 inches. I should be an 18 on the bust, a 20 on the waist, and an 18-20 on the hips. But I went with a size 18 from the smaller size range. So yeah, the smaller size range does a 6 to 18, and then the larger size range does an 8 to 28, because it's obviously built on a different body block. So the size 18 for the smaller section and the size 18 for the larger are actually slightly different measurements. So I went with the largest in the small section, if you know what I mean, in a size 18. But yes, shall I show you my top? Here we go. Here it is with some checks. I don't think I own any checked fabric in my wardrobe, which was quite interesting. I'm never normally drawn to a lot of checks, but this I absolutely love, and it's kind of making me think maybe I need to have a think about it. So the Merchant and Mills top comes as a dress as well. I've done the top version. Sorry, I know my head's not talking to you, but I'm trying to talk about the top as well. It's very difficult on YouTube when you have to film this way around. But it's a really nice, oversized, kind of loose, simple top that's got a gathered peplum with sleeves. Now, I'll just show you the detail at the back. Here we go. I hope you can see that now. It's got buttons down the back, and it kind of goes up at the back and then kind of down slightly where the button placket is. So if you can see here, it kind of goes up and then down. Lovely short sleeves, and this is going to get a lot of wear. I've made this top in viscose and a very, very delicate like viscose lawn as well. So it was nice to make this in double gauze, because I'm used to wearing double gauze as pyjamas, so it feels like I'm wearing my pyjamas. I don't think I look like I'm wearing my pyjamas. Well, I hope I don't anyway. But yeah, I absolutely love it. I didn't do anything to try and pattern match stripes or anything like that. So you'll see on the side here, there's none of that going on. Because of the shape of the pattern pieces, it's not going to happen. It's got a bound neckline here. Now, I have found when I've done binding before with double gauze, because you've got 2 layers of fabric, if you cut the fabric where there isn't one of those individual stitches, it can come away. So I actually made my binding wider than it was meant to be. I think I did a centimetre width on. So this stitching here, when you attach your binding, is actually a little bit wider than it should be. But I always tend to do that with double gauze, just to make sure that when I'm folding my bias binding together, that there's not bits just popping up everywhere, and it sits a lot nicer and neater. I mean, obviously you could choose a different binding, ready-made even, to do this part here, but I chose to do it with the Sewl fabric because it's so lovely and soft on your skin. I didn't want anything to be different. And I think sometimes when you're joining something like this kind of fabric to a very strictly woven fabric, if that makes sense. Sometimes you can get like little puckers, whereas this was easily manipulated because it's got a little bit of movement in it. But yeah, really nice length sleeves for me. I love where the peplum hits me. I extend mine by around 2 inches because I'm 5'8", but I love the boxy feel that this gives. When I've done it with viscose before, it sits closer to my body because of the drape. But for me, with this one, look, it's just, I could go to a massive buffet, eat everything I want and get away with it. Nobody would know any different, would they? But yeah, it's beautifully soft, really lovely to work with. I just took my time, I went super slowly with it, and I enjoyed the process. So I'm super happy with mine. I'm now going to pass you over to another one of my gorgeous Northern Sewl sisters, and you can see what they've made with what colour fabric.
And it's my turn. I have to tell you a little something funny. This is the second time I've filmed this video. I filmed this all earlier and was like chuffed that I got it all done, ready to send. And then I realised that I'd had my top on back to front for the entire video. So I was standing up, I was showing you, I was all of that. And it was back to front. So the back and the front are pretty similar. The only difference is bust darts. So in my defence, they're not that obviously different. However, I wanted to refilm this video so that you got an actual true representation of what the top looks like, because I didn't want anyone thinking, oh, that's sitting really weird, that looks really strange. I wanted to have it on the correct way around. So, hi, I'm Tamlyn. I really enjoyed watching Ruan's explanation and everything about what she has made with the lovely double gauze. The colourway that Ruan had is beautiful. I really love it. And what is so perfect is there was a colourway to suit each of our individual tastes and personalities and preferences. So it just worked out perfectly. If you know me, you'll know that I love a bit of blue, especially a bit of cobalt blue, which this has in it. So this is my colourway, as you can see here. And I'm going to talk you through what I have made with my lovely double gauze. Now, people are nervous about sewing with double gauze, as Ruan has talked about, and she gave lots of tips for how to work with it. I like working with double gauze. It can need careful handling. It can sort of not stretch, but it grows a little bit because it's kind of crinkled up. It can then grow a little bit as you're working with it. So you do just need to handle it carefully. But if you do, you end up with the most beautiful garment that's soft and comfortable, and it's a really versatile fabric as well. You can use it for so many things, and as Ruan alluded to, it's great in warmer weather because it keeps you cool, it's breathable, but it's also great in colder weather because the layers of fabric trap air and then keep you warm, like warm you up. It's like a magical fabric. I really love it. Anyway, should we get on to what I've made? As you might be able to see just from the upper part here, I haven't quite been as sensible as Ruan. Ruan has made a beautiful top that can definitely be worn in many seasons, not just summer. I got this fabric in summer and made something for the summer that I wanted to wear there and then when the weather was really warm. And now, although it has actually been warm in the UK this week, well, in the northeast of England anyway, I'm not going to get an awful lot of wear out of my garment in the next couple of seasons. So it might be packed away and then brought out again next year, but I'm really excited to bring it out again next year because I love it so much. I have worn it a lot since I made it as well, so I've already got a lot of wear out of it. Should we talk about what I've made? So I have made the Small Museum ginger tie top. You may not have heard of Small Museum before. They're a relatively new pattern company, and their most famous pattern, I would say, is the Tate Romper, a pattern which I own but haven't made yet. So I really liked the look of this ginger tie top when it came out. I loved all of the images that we saw from the pattern designer, but also from testers and people that have made it. So it very much hops on board with the bow trend, which has been everywhere, and it's a really simple top that fastens with bows at the side. In terms of a size range, it's got a great size range from 0 to 32, which takes you from a 31.5 inch bust to a 55 inch bust, and it's a beginner level pattern. So the designer explains at the start of the instructions that she wanted to design a simple beginner friendly pattern, but that would have that wow factor and a bit of a statement. So you've got the drama and sort of the appeal of those bows, but it's still a simple sew. So in terms of my sizing, I fell, if you're wondering, sorry, where I got my lovely pattern booklet from, it's from CLC Prints. That's where I tend to order my patterns from now, and I get this lovely booklet printed out, which is great. So in terms of my measurements, I fell between a 6 and an 8 for the full bust, and between a 4 and a 6 for the hip. However, I didn't feel like the hip measurement was really relevant because this doesn't even come down to the hip. So I went with my bust measurement. I fell between a 6 and an 8. I decided to just sew a straight 6 because there is ease in this pattern, and also you've got the tie fastening at the side where you can make it a bit tighter or a bit looser depending on your preference. So in terms of fabric requirements, the sorts of fabrics that you want to use for this top are woven fabrics, lightweight to medium weight fabrics, things like cotton, like this. This is 100% cotton double gauze. You could use linen, you could use shirting fabrics, you could use things like cotton gingham, those sorts of things. You don't want anything too heavy. And you could use something like a viscose, but I think you want something with a little bit more body to it. So double gauze is absolutely perfect. And it is actually reversible. So although I haven't made it reversible, I've used the same fabric on both sides. You could use 2 different fabrics and make it completely reversible. The only thing would be the ties. You're going to see some of each fabric if you made the ties double-sided with the 2 different fabrics, or you could just use one colour tie but still have the top as reversible, if you know what I mean. So that is there as an option. In terms of the instructions, they are absolutely fantastic. I'll show you just a random page. So you'll see that you get these really clear photographs and then really detailed instructions as well. I found these really easy to follow. I didn't come across any problems whatsoever. I love that the seam allowance is at the top of every single page. That's always a bugbear when you can't find the seam allowance in a pattern. You have to search through the instructions to find it. It's at the top of every single page, which is brilliant. In terms of the views that you can make for this pattern, you've got 2 different views. One has got 1 large bow on each side, which is the one that I've made, and the other view has 2 smaller bows on each side. It's a very simple top. The front has bust darts, the back is just plain, but the whole thing is made using the burrito method, and you do that a few times so you end up with a completely clean finish, and then you turn it through at the end and just have to hand stitch a little section, and all of your raw seams are enclosed inside, so it's really beautifully finished. I absolutely love the finish of it. In terms of how much fabric you need to make this top, although it's quite a small top, as you can see, you actually need quite a lot of fabric. So you need 1.5 meters of fabric. Well, I did, to make this top. It's because you've got the front and the back, it's completely fully lined, and then these bow pattern pieces are quite large because they're quite statement, so you do need more fabric than you might think you need, although 1.5 meters isn't actually that much, I suppose. And if you were making it reversible, you could actually use 2 smaller pieces of fabric to make your garment. So should I stand up and show you? It is designed to be like a loose top with ease built into it, so I have been sort of going like this a little bit, but I think I just need to maybe fasten these at the side a little bit more. I probably could get away with going down a size if I wanted to, because it depends on the look that you want really. It's designed as a looser kind of easy fit. It's not supposed to be skin tight. So yeah, I could go down a size. I'm not sure if I would, because I quite like having the option of being quite easy breezy. Let's stand up and show you and stop waffling. I'm wearing my top with my Sew Liberated chanterelle pants. So you can see the bust dart here. I don't know if I've tied my bows brilliantly. They might need a little bit of work. I did try to pattern match from the front to the back so that the stripes followed through, and I have achieved that mostly. Maybe not perfectly, but mostly. I love this square shape here. I think that's really nice. I think it looks really nice with these trousers as well. So, in terms of how I feel about this top, I really love it. Like I say, I wore it lots. I've had a lot of wear out of this. I've worn it with jeans, with shorts, with these trousers. I really like the shape and the style. I feel really comfortable in it. I enjoyed sewing it. Instructions were brilliant, and I would definitely make it again. There are a couple of negatives that I'll mention. One of which is you can't really wear anything over the top of it. So these are quite large, the bows at the side, so the knots are quite big. So you can't really wear anything over the top of it, like a cardigan or a jacket even, because you've got these like lumps at the side. Also, you'll notice that you can see my bra peeking out at the side. Now, I would prefer to wear this without a bra. However, because I'm small chested, I like the shape that the bra gives. So I will stand up and just show you. So I've got a strapless bra on, and I'm happy with the shape that it gives me there. If I just whip my bra away, I prefer the look at the side because you now can't see any bra. However, I don't like this look so much because I feel like I prefer a little bit more shape here. So it's definitely wearable without a bra, but it's just in terms of body confidence and how you feel, you might prefer to wear one, but then you can definitely still see it. I hope that makes sense. I maybe would fasten these a little bit tighter without the bra. So I've taken the bra off, I just need to bring that in a little bit more. And yeah, I love this square shape. I think it looks really nice. I definitely feel like this is slipping off a little bit though. So whether that means I need to perhaps make a smaller size, or whether it's just to do with fastening these bows a little bit tighter at the side, I don't know. But love the fabric. Was actually pretty easy to work with. Even pattern matching with it, I didn't find too difficult. And I would love to make something else in this fabric. I'm thinking maybe pyjama bottoms or pyjama shorts to just wear with a simple blue t-shirt would be really, really nice as we go into autumn and winter. So, what do you think? Obviously, I'm just going to say my style, I guess, isn't going to be for everyone. And my top that I've made probably isn't going to be to a lot of people's tastes because, I don't know why I say that, but it might not be to your taste. However, for me and my style, I really, really like this. I will say that I would love to try the Florence top that Ruan has made. She's made a couple now and looks incredible in them, so I would love to make one of those. And the garment that you're about to see that Rachel has made, I have made already and also love and would like to make another one. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed following along with our little double gauze sewing journey, and I would suggest that you grab some of this fabric while you can get a 20% discount, because it is truly delicious fabric. Right, I'm going to go now. I'm going to hand over to my gorgeous Rachel, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.
And now it's my turn. So I'm going to chat to you about my make for our little double gauze project. And as Ruan and Tamlyn have already mentioned, we were so lucky that there were 3 colourways of this beautiful fabric to choose from, and each of us were immediately drawn to a different colourway. So there were no arguments, which was just amazing. So I went for the green colourway of this fabric because the tones in this colourway really suit my complexion, and I absolutely love those colours. So the pattern that I decided to make was the Staystitch Company Malibu shirt. And what I love about this project is that the 3 of us have each come up with a completely sort of unique pattern that probably lots of you have never come across or made. So I'm really excited to share my finished make with you. Now, a little bit of background to this pattern. I actually cut this pattern out about 2 years ago now, and it has sat in my UFO pile for all of that time because my fabric choice when I originally cut this out, once I'd cut the pattern out, I just fell out of love with it. And because of that, I had no motivation to sew it up. And then since then, my size has changed. And because I knew that I really wanted to make this pattern with this fabric, I thought, well, do you know what? Let's just get the pattern made up, the fabric made up that I'd originally cut out, and let's see how that fits. And then I can make any adjustments or changes before I cut into this beautiful double gauze. And I'm really pleased that I did do that, because when I made my toile version, I found that it was actually too big. So I have gone down a couple of sizes. So let me show you my garment first, and then I'll talk to you about the pattern a little bit more and the sizing, etc. And then I will show you how it looks. So here is my finished Malibu shirt. So this is designed for woven fabrics, and basically what you've got is you've got a shirt with no fastenings at all. It literally is just slip on over your head, but it does have a collar and collar stand. It's got cuffed sleeves. When I say cuffed, they are sort of like an imitation cuff, but it's a really nice way of doing it, actually. I just noticed I've got a bit of a loose thread there. We'll sort that out later. And you've got a placket detail down the front, and then you've got this lovely little twist detail at the front. You've also got pockets here as well. Yes, there are pockets there, and I've done an incredible job at matching. And then at the back, you have this yoke, which I've cut on the bias just to add that nice little feature there. I did do the same with the internal yoke as well, and I've added a gorgeous label from Little Rosy Cheeks that my lovely Tamlyn gave to me, which was just so nice of her. So she gave me the full pack, not just the one label as well, which was gorgeous. So this is my Malibu shirt. Now I love this because I love the pockets. The pockets are so big, and I think that's a really good feature of the shirt itself. This is the line drawing of the shirt, so you can see it in a little bit more detail, and it's the first pattern from this pattern company that I've ever made. But as Tamlyn has already mentioned, she's made this shirt herself before as well. Now, one of the things that Ruan mentioned at the beginning of the vlog is that when she talked about double gauze, she talked about whether you should iron it or not, because lots of people are a little bit wary of it as a fabric. And she mentioned that if you're going to iron it when you have made your garment up, then you should iron it before you cut it out, because it does have a tendency to grow. Now, I have ironed mine, but what I will say is I've worked with a few double gauzes now, and I love the fact that when you iron this, you don't iron out the creases completely. You can still see some of the beautiful features of double gauze, and I really like that. So for me, this fabric is a really good substantial double gauze, and it doesn't completely go flat, and that's probably because of the amount of little tack stitches that are between the two layers of gauze. I'm sure that's probably why. I think, like all things, you're going to have some double gauzes that are better quality than others, and this was a really nice one to work with. So I added on 2 inches to the length of this pattern. It is designed for woven fabrics. You get it from Etsy, actually, rather than the pattern designer themselves. It comes off Etsy, and they describe it as a linen cropped shirt. Now, it's designed, as I say, for 5'5", and I'm 5'10", but I only added a couple of inches because I still wanted it to be fairly cropped and sit right at my high waist, so that I can wear it with high-waisted jeans. And I think that sort of aesthetic is what I was looking for. So it comes in sizes 00 to 34, which is a bust of 31 to 61 inches. And the size that I made my toile out of originally was a size 10, but I ended up going down 2 sizes. So I went down to the size 6, which is a 35-inch bust and a 28-inch waist. Now, my measurements are a 35.5 full bust with a waist of 27 inches. But the finished bust measurement for that size is 43.5 inches. So you get 8.5 inches of ease. So you really need to think about that. This is designed to be very oversized. It takes between 1 3/4 and 2 1/4 meters of fabric, dependent on whether your fabric is the 44-inch wide or the 50-inch wide, 54-inch wide, is it 55-inch? So depending on the width, the width of your fabric depends how much you are going to need to make this shirt. The other thing to think about is if you are using a checked fabric like the three of us have for our projects, is that you may need a little bit more fabric if you are going to be pattern matching. Now I know Ruan didn't bother pattern matching with hers because of the shape of her pattern pieces. Obviously anything that is not cut straight is going to be much more difficult to pattern match if you want to attempt it. And I did try and attempt pattern matching with this, and the main areas that I tried that was obviously the side seams, which have worked out quite well, and the pockets. Now I did consider, because this is the other thing, when you are cutting out double gauze, because it does have that tendency to grow, it's quite challenging at times to be able to pattern match things like pockets and get them really square. This pattern has got a really ingenious way of making sure that both pockets, if you're doing 2 pockets, are absolutely the same size. It's got a really good way of doing it. What they get you to do is they get you to baste them together. So you cut out both pocket main pieces, the squares, baste them together, and then you open it out so it's like one pocket with the seams of the 2 pockets inside, if that makes sense. Then you press it and then you undo your basting stitches. So then you've got your 2 pressed pockets that are exactly the same size. It's ingenious. And I'm going to use that moving forward with all my other patterns where I need to put pockets on. And yeah, I wanted to make sure that I tried my hardest to pattern match these pockets. But what I thought was, if it doesn't turn out right, and when I'm trying to attach them to the main front pattern pieces, if I've got any problems with that, then I would probably have done what I've done with the yoke and cut it on the cross grain and made a feature of it, because sometimes that's easier to do. So obviously if you're going to do that, you are going to need a little bit more fabric to be able to, you know, take all those kinds of things into consideration. What I love about this pattern is the instructions come with written instructions and line drawings, and the line drawings are extremely clear. So if I can show you a page there, for instance, you can see how everything is really clear. I sometimes think photographs, for instance, are really difficult to see stitching lines and exactly what you want to do, but I love line drawings. I think it just makes things so clear and easy to follow. What I don't like about this pattern, there are a couple of errors in the instructions, and it did leave me scratching my head. And when I spoke to Tamlyn about it, because obviously she'd made this pattern before, which I'd totally forgotten about, she had the same issue. So I know it's not just me, because sometimes we think that, don't we? We expect independent patterns to have been thoroughly tested and checked, etc. Well, we do with all patterns, even commercial patterns. But And so when we come across glaring mistakes, sometimes we think, is it just me? Have I done something wrong? Anyway, the areas where there are errors on this pattern are firstly with the sleeve cuffs. So what she gets you to do is they get you to turn up the hem by 2 inches and then another 2 inches. That's what it says in the instructions. And it gives you that in centimetres as well. So it tells you to turn it up by 5 centimetres and then another 5. That is an awful lot. And if you do that, you end up where the actual sleeve would finish right at the arm side and it wouldn't be this length, which clearly from the pattern design is supposed to be that length. So I read that about 3 or 4 times, and I had a chat with Tamlyn and she said, yeah, I had exactly the same thing. So I think it's an error. I think she actually means you to do 2 centimetres and not 2 inches, even though she's put 5 centimetres in brackets from the 2 inches. The reason why it's wrong is because on the pattern piece for the sleeve, you've got, you know, when your sleeve comes down like this, if you imagine it on the flat, And then at the bottom, you've got a bit that goes out like that, which is the hem bit that is supposed to be turned up. And that bit is only a couple of centimetres. It's not 2 inches. So that's the first error. The second one is the burrito for the yoke. So what the instructions tell you to do with this is that you insert the back pattern piece between the external and internal yoke to stitch this seam here. And then when you've done that, she tells you to add the right side of the inner yoke to the wrong side of the front shirt. Normally, whenever I've done a burrito, if you've done a burrito, tell me what you think, because whenever I've done a burrito, you add the right side of the outer yoke to the right side of the front pattern pieces at the shoulder seams, and then you fold everything up and flip it. I'd got that in my head because I've done a few burritos now, but I thought, well, this might be a different way that she's done it, so I'll follow the instructions. I followed the instructions and it ended up where the front wrong side to the right side of the yoke, which was clearly wrong. So I unstitched it, read the instructions again, did it again, had exactly the same issue. So again, I spoke to Tamlyn about it. She had the same issue. So I think, again, the instructions are wrong for the burrito. So I just went back to how I do a burrito, which is you attach, obviously, your inner and outer yokes to your back pattern piece, and then you attach the outer yoke right side to the right side of the shoulder seams of the front pattern piece, and then you burrito it through, and it works. And it worked with this. It was absolutely fine. The last bit that is a bit of an error in the instructions is the hem as well. So what she does is before you attach the placket, you need to hem it, because if you don't, it's going to be really difficult to do, because the placket is attached to one side of the garment, and then you take it through the front of the garment and then attach the other side, so that you get this little knot detail at the front. And if you've not hemmed it by this point, you're not going to be able to hem it. It's going to be really awkward. So you need to hem it before you attach the placket. Now what she tells you to do is she just tells you to turn up the hem by, I think it's 1/2 inch, something like that, and edge stitch it. But she hasn't actually told you to finish the hem before you do that. So if you just do that, and you're thinking that, well, maybe at some point she's going to tell me to do something else with this because of this twist detail, then you're going to end up stuck. So what I did was I just folded it up twice and hemmed it by 1/4 inch, 3/8 of an inch, something like that, and it's fine. But yeah, so there are a couple of errors in the instructions, and yeah, it's not great, is it? Let's be honest. You expect, when you're paying good money for these patterns, that they have ironed these things out, let's say that. So anyway, apart from that, it's a lovely, lovely shirt. So I'm going to put it on now and show you what it looks like. So there we go. So as you can see, it does hit me. I've got it on with high-waisted jeans, and it does hit me probably at my high hip now, but the front is quite cropped, and I think if I made this again, I would probably lengthen the placket so that it wasn't quite as cropped as this. The other thing to think about as well is if you make this in a bigger size, as I say, I've made it in a size 6, and I've still got plenty of room in here. But if you made it in a bigger size, then the front opening here would gape a lot. I mean, I've got it on with a sort of bralette underneath here, and because it's a double gauze and it is not too massively oversized, then it is sort of keeping itself closed. My other Malibu shirt that I made, my 12 version, was so big that it gapes at the front, which means I have to look at adding a little popper or something here, which you could do with it anyway, but I would have to do that to make sure that it doesn't sort of gape as I wear it. But the thing about double gauze is that it does sort of not stick to each other, but because of the textured surface, it's not very sort of silky, slippery, if that makes sense. I love the pockets. The pockets are really nice. I love the fact that you can't really see them. And yeah, I'm really happy with it. I think it's going to be lovely to wear in spring and summer. I mean, obviously, we're in late September now and the weather is turning here in the UK. But yeah, it was a lovely sew. And I am really, really happy with it. I love these colours. They're so fresh and yeah, really nice. Really happy with it. One other thing, I think Ruan mentioned about if you wash this fabric, that you should wash it around 30 degrees. And she recommends that you don't tumble dry it because it can shrink. Now, I have tumble dried this. And it might have shrunk a little bit actually, but it still fits me really nice and I've still got plenty of room in it. So I generally will wash and tumble dry most of my fabrics before I use them, because I always think in the winter months when I can't get my clothes dry, I am going to want to tumble dry them. And it's generally only synthetic fabrics that I wouldn't tumble dry because they do tend to go really bobbly. But the rest of my fabrics I will usually tumble dry and hopefully get rid of the shrinkage before I start working with them, if that makes sense. So that's another little tip. But yes, I have tumble dried this and it's absolutely fine. It's great. So anyway, let us know what you think to our makes. We would love to engage with you in the comments down below. What do you think? Which is your favourite colourway? And have you made any of these patterns yourself? Also, don't forget about the amazing 20% discount code, which I'm going to put along the bottom of the screen now for you. So you can go and treat yourself to a piece of this beautiful fabric yourself and let us know what you would make with it. Right, I'm going to leave it there, guys. And it's been great to chat to you again. We will be back with you soon. Take care. Bye.